Daylan, Michael Kropownicki, Gio Salamando, Julia Saritas, Francesca Ramasi, Michael Graff, Megan DeMagistris, Sammy Sakawa, Aiden Hurt, Kayla Elek, Dimitri Koutsanopoulos, Peyton Miller, Brian Furco, Jordan Marsh, Ali Palladino, Sylvia Varon, Audrey Recktown, Diana Ortega, Robert Warren, Isabella Lapano, Christian Aguilar, Kylie Grompone, Avery Lauderback, and Phoebe Rivers. So I'm going to send these back with your classmates. I think that we are missing one for the other student advisor. We'll get one made. Victoria. Amanda. So we will get one made for Amanda and send it over to the school. And I would ask Kristen, Diana, and Michael to come up here and join me for your certificates. And we really appreciate Mrs. Mahajer, I'm sorry. Mrs. Mahajer of being corrected. Thank you so much for advising these students and giving them the get up and go to come and join us and help the town out as needed. Let's take a photo here with Rob. Amanda, did you want to come up with a photo? Yeah. Thank you. So we see Diana here a lot. We've seen Mr. DiMario also, but Diana does a lot for the borough. She's also on our feedback. Perfect. Thanks. So thank you very much. Congratulations for helping us. Thank you very much. Do you want to take these out? Oh, yeah. I can show you. Thank you. All right, cool. Thank you. So while we're on the topic of school, this afternoon, the boys soccer team won their semifinal state game, and they have another game, They have another game, I believe it's Friday at 6 o'clock. I'm not sure who it is yet, because I think it was the winner of whoever won the other game. But congrats to the boys soccer team. I'm told they are the winning most soccer team that Emerson has ever had. So kudos to you guys, and go get them on Friday. Bring it home. All right, and thank you for coming. We appreciate it. And the next thing we're going to be asking you for is snow angels for snow shoveling. So we'll get in touch with you, okay? Thank you so much, and have a great evening.
Good night.
So now we are going to get on to unfinished business, community development block grant, CDBG applications.
Dave is not here, so I'm going to cover for him on the question on that.
Do you think we'll be here that we should wait?
No, it's not. We're just going to go over what we had.
Okay.
We had a community block grant that we used for road paving, but we're no longer allowed to qualify for road paving. So for
literally just made aware of.
Yeah, in October. So we moved and asked and tacked in order to try to find projects in the borough that would allow us to use the money that we've been allocated, the $122,000. Working with Dave and the mayor, along with the governing body, we've come up with a couple of different projects, and we're allowed to combine the projects together to get to the total. So one of the projects that we're looking at is doing ADA accessible doors at the senior center. So both in the front, on the sides, and in the back. So we have an estimate to do that for $102,000. That's not including the cost that would be associated with any engineer or soft costs or architectural costs. The architectural cost could be somewhere between, David has said, between $6,000 to $10,000, and the engineering cost would be associated also with in that ballpark, within about another same $6,000 to $10,000. We are also looking to put into.
there's two different sets of soft costs?
He said total. Dave has a better, when Dave gets here, he can give you a, definite, definitive number of where the estimates are, but we're in that range of, it's basically between 6,000 to 15,000, between engineering costs and architectural costs.
Oh, engineering and...
Yeah, and architectural, because the architectural he's saying could go between 6 to 10, and then his costs on top of it. So anywhere from in that vicinity. Those costs are not paid for through the CBDG grant, because they don't pay for grant, that's not part of it.
Costs.
But we also then have another project that we have, what they call virgin curb cuts, which we are allowed to do. We found two in the borough still that we're looking at, and so that would cost $19,500. You add the two together, and that would have the money that we were allocated to come up with that we were allocated through CDBG before up in the street.
So then we can use the full 122,000?
That's the goal.
We're very close to it?
That's the goal, yes.
Okay, so I just want to, you were on vacation when this information came in, and I had a thorough, very intense conversation with Bob Lau from BCU, right?
No, Rob Esposito.
Rob Esposito, sorry,
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
getting
yeah.
my function people.
It's okay. A lot of Bobs, yeah.
I'm nervous because I see that we're not on YouTube, or are we recording?
We're recording. Hopefully we're streaming.
You don't know if we're streaming now?
I don't think you are.
Okay. We're not streaming, he said. So that, it's got me a little bit jumbled, I'm not gonna lie. So I spoke to Mr. Esposito and, Shanti, who was our rep for CDBG, and, some towns do not even qualify. We used to qualify in Continental Woods, and then we stopped being able to qualify for the monies, and then we qualified down in what we call Frogtown, down by Randolph, and we were proposing to do First Street, Second Street,
Fourth, I think.
Fourth Street, down in that area of town, and then I guess they had a meeting and decided that because the numbers came out from the state that we no longer qualified for CDBG money unless it was for something very, very specific. So we usually go to curb cuts because handicap accessible is one of those programs that we could take advantage of. Well, we don't have any curb cuts except for 2 left in the borough. So I had a whole conversation with Mr. Esposito and found out what other things can we, because we don't want to leave money on the table, what else could we use it for? And we can use it for programs for the senior center, and we can also do things to the senior center building. So I had recommended that maybe we look at doing the doors at the senior center. So, and that happened in between meetings. So I think that I just mentioned it to some of you, but I guess, do we have to take a vote on it in order to reallocate it?
We have 2 resolutions.
Oh, we have
that we're gonna put in.
resolutions, okay.
They asked for 2 separate resolutions since they're 2 separate projects, but in total...
We have to do 2
And
separate
these are the
resolutions.
packets, right?
No.
Okay.
I spoke to Mr. Esposito today, and so that was something that had to go on because we do not have another meeting until December. He asked if we would put those on.
Okay,
And
so
do so.
then, I'm going to put a pin in voting on these, and I'm going to pass them to the governing body and ask you each to read them, and then make sure that you're comfortable with both of those projects and voting on those
Both
resolutions.
projects, soft costs for that 6 to 15%.
Yes. The curb cuts, there's no.
But no more than 15 total combined
Yeah,
for
Dave
the
will-
architecture and
Yeah,
engineering.
and that's, by the time you get to vote on it, by the time Dave should be here.
I don't think we're going to know the amount before we vote, because if
No,
Dave
Dave should be here by 8 o'clock.
By 8 o'clock?
He says he's going to try to be here by 8 o'clock, so.
Okay.
So he might have that answer. Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't think he can give us the cost for architecture. So,
Right, I understand.
so we could do it with a not to exceed.
Right.
Yeah.
It just,
Because I don't think he's going to have any exact numbers. It sounds like he's just going to have a ballpark.
Use it or lose it date.
Use it or you lose it date.
right now, this money was allocated, so if we do not use this and have it set up by December, we would lose the money.
So-
So, end of this year.
Yes.
So what were the numbers that came out a month ago that determined that we are no longer eligible?
Census. with the census.
They caught up with the 2020 census, that's right, that's what he told me.
Mhm.
So when they were going over the 2020 census, they realized that even though they had given us the money, we didn't qualify, in fact, for that section of town, which is why we are now having to reallocate it.
Yes.
I think it goes with socioeconomic.
Yep, economic.
Yeah.
It was an economics that
It's
changed.
actually a good thing because it means that we're kind of in financially in town in a better situation. They give the money to towns that need it more, and in some areas we have needed it and we've been able to use it. But because our property values are going up and people are making, more money, that we're just not qualifying for it anymore. So when I went to my mayor's meeting and I asked them, what do you guys use the CDBG money for?
In fact,
Some of the
there he is.
mayors were not even 100% sure they ever even applied for it because they were out of the realm of even qualifying for it since they've been mayor. So some of them they knew what it was, but they weren't exactly sure what they ever even applied for. So Dave, we're talking about welcome. I hope everything's okay. I heard what happened. Glad that you're here. So we're talking CDBGs, and Councilwoman McGuire would like a number on what you think the soft costs are going to be on doing doors for the senior center.
Sure. So I'll break it down for the initial bid preparation side of it. So we're looking at about $8,500 for the soft costs for preparation of the bid documents and, sizing out the doors and getting all the information for that. On the construction side, it's going to be about the same, as far as the cost. So all in, you're looking at about $17,000.
So is there an architecture cost?
Yeah, that's factored into that number.
Okay. And did you speak to Kevin about that, or is that, do we need
That
an
would be,
architect in-house that's
we
able
have
to work
we
on
have an
this?
architect that we
All
work
right,
with.
so this is working through Neglia's
Correct.
Architects, it's such a small project?
Yes.
Okay, all right, that answers your question, fine. Okay.
On the curb cut. There'd be a little bit for that. I didn't factor that in, but
Rob said that there's still two virgins, so the curb cuts also, just for everyone's edification,
Right.
if a curb cut is broken, we cannot use this money to fix a curb cut that's already been cut. It has to be on a virgin cut. So Perry had to go out with the DPW, and I guess Rob and Dave helped out to locate any streets that still never had any curb cut for handicap accessibility, and in the whole town, they only found 2 sidewalks that have not had a curb cut. So that's why we're only doing 2. And
Right,
then we'll fully have on any sidewalk a handicap accessible.
correct. They may not all be fully compliant, meaning they don't, there's certain criteria that need to be on the handicap ramps themselves. Typically, if you're driving around, you'll see the red mats that are on them. Not all of them in town have that at this point, but those do not qualify under CDBG. We did try that avenue, and that's what we talked about last month, I believe, was to do those, and then when Bergen County looked at them, they're like, no, they have to be virgin, they have to have the full height curb there today, and that's the 2 that the mayor's talking about.
Right.
So as far as the soft costs, they're very minimal for that. So the $8,500 would fit all
And
of
that's to
that.
satisfy our 2024 money that we've already been allocated. So now, we need to decide on a project for 2025. So now that we know that we can't do any more curb cuts, we can't do any paving of any streets, it leaves us with basically the senior center, I think, and doing things for our seniors. And I'm proposing that we...
What is this grant money is just for senior citizens?
So originally, it's focused on the lower to moderate income areas within the communities. Traditionally, there was a couple areas in town where it qualified for it. So in the past, we worked on doing drainage improvements and/or roadway improvements, and then most recently, we were able to do the Randolph Ave pump station, which is in the works now. They recently updated the census data and the mapping, and there's no more areas that qualify for it within Emerson.
In terms of infrastructure repairs.
Well, yes, as far as that fall within the confines of the map. They have it broken into different districts. And there are no more districts that fall within it for the infrastructure stuff. However, the CDBG allows you to put money towards the seniors and
Right.
that portion. So that's why the discussions have been about the senior center. That's why, like, the ADA access to the doors and stuff, that's why we're focusing on that.
And my recommendation would be to apply for 2025 for money for programming, because I found out that they could use money for buses to go to cultural gatherings or whatnot. So they take these trips where, you know, during March, they'll go to like a Irish festival, and because it's cultural and, you know, and life enhancing, they qualify to spend the money on a bus to go there, or even for part of the trip. And they can do yoga classes and have somebody come in more regularly than they're having it right now, and pay for yoga classes and things that enhance their lives and their livelihoods. So I recommend that since we don't want to leave money on the table, we at least apply for the money in order to help the seniors down there to do even more interesting activities down at the senior center and make them, you know, have a better quality of life and continue to enjoy themselves. Yeah. So do we have to?
Just the two resolutions.
So it's all that's all
Yeah.
part of the resolution?
No, not that.
No, we have to vote on the resolutions, that's all, for the curb cuts, and then for the next one, we'll do that at the next meeting.
Because we still have time.
Yeah,
So we'll do
yes.
another.
The deadline for that one is in December, so we have a little bit of time to
Okay,
fine
so then we
tune
have
that.
another meeting. So
Right.
everyone just think about that. We'll think about, we could reach out through Rob and find out specifically what kind of activities and get a list of them if you wanted to from them. And then we can move forward with that in December. I thought the two of them were for the two. I didn't see them yet because I passed them down the road. All right, so we're finished with CDBG?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so that brings us to new business, Emerson Veteran Housing Amendment to HMFA Pilot. That's resolution number 244-24, authorize amendment to pilot agreement for the American Legion Post 269 property at 324 Main Street, Block 304, Lot 3. I can explain that?
Sure. So, basically what's occurred is that since we're now doing a new project and we're building new housing, and for the...
Well, we're not building it,
Well, I'm saying the housing, through the housing authority, but here in Emerson where it's being built. Since that's occurring, the housing authority had established a pilot program with the Borough of Emerson on the first property that they had already built in the back for our veterans. Since now they're doing a second piece of the property in the front, they did not realize at the time that property was separate. So now they have to combine the two properties, and so we have to update the pilot in order to put the two construction projects into one pilot, basically, sum it up simply. So really, it's more housekeeping for anything than for us, because in order to get the project started and done, we need this pilot, we need this to be updated.
Do you have a copy of the pilot?
I do not have a copy of the pilot on myself right now. I believe that
Do we have
it might be...
a copy of the pilot?
Hang on a second. I do not have that with me right now. Excuse me?
The agreement.
Yeah.
All right, well, is it the pilot agreement? I mean, we're talking about the pilot, shouldn't we know what it says in the pilot?
The amendment.
It's just an amendment, it's adding that property onto, because the original pilot did not have that property in there. So what is explained to us through Mr. Bialy, along with Lynn Bartlett, is that in order for them to receive the funding that they needed, that they have to put that property and combine it with the other pilot. It's an amendment to
My
the...
understanding just removes the front part.
So the amendment says that Section 2 of the pilot is deleted in its entirety and replaced with number 2. The project is situated on the parcel of land designated as Unit 1 of the Valor Condominium, Block 304, Lot 3. It will need updated block and lot or qualifier designation here, and more commonly referred to as 324 Main Street, Unit 1, Borough of Emerson, New Jersey. And then the pilot is to be sent to Emerson Affordable Housing LLC, care of the Housing Development Corporation of Bergen in Upper Saddle River. Okay.
And what was previously in section 2, just,
Was the old,
was the, it's just for properties in the back.
correct.
And then it says, obviously, that all other provisions contained in the pilot that are not specifically amended by this amendment continue to be in full force and effect, and the amendment shall not be binding until fully executed by both parties, and the amendment may be signed in counterparts, all of which, when taken together, shall constitute a single document. Delivery of a signed counterpart by fax or email shall constitute sufficient delivery. So we're not changing anything. I don't recall what the original pilot was, I'll be quite honest. But it seems like whatever it is, it's going to continue in perpetuity as long as the agreement's in place.
Yes.
Okay? Okay. Does anyone have any questions on that? So do we need to do a motion now, or is that on consent? So we need a motion on resolution number 244-24, authorize the amendment to pilot agreement for the American Legion Post 269.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Argenzia?
Yes.
Councilwoman Rice?
Yes.
Councilwoman McGuire?
Yes.
Councilwoman Gordon?
Yes.
And Councilwoman Sayers? Yes.
Thank you. Next item is the 2025 internship program, Rob.
Just basically, we were very successful last year with our internship, and we would like to move forward to, again, put advertisements out for our internship again for fall and for summer, for the borough. They are, our interns, the way we used them last year were, same thing, it was basically a free program to us. The individuals came in, did a great job, and in fact, we did such a great job with one of our interns, we've kept him. And he's now working with us and is doing a fantastic job as an employee.
He's working part-time,
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, we kept him as a part-time employee.
Right. But he's not staying forever, I'm told. He's
Yeah.
just in between, sort of looking for a job after
Correct.
graduating college. But we're happy to have him for as long as he is able to stay with
We've
us.
done very well with the program, and we're looking forward to utilizing it again for next year.
Right. So is everyone in agreement that we should continue with the internship program?
Absolutely.
Yes, everyone's okay with that?
Yes.
All right, do we need to vote on that, or is that just, okay, we're
No.
good. All right, we're going to continue with advertising for an internship with a college student. That brings us to discussion of sidewalks on Forest Avenue. I think Councilwoman Argenzia put this on the agenda?
I did. So it was just, some concerns with some of the local residents regarding just a lot of the children riding their bicycle up and down Forest Avenue. And, they had just approached me to ask if we could just discuss looking into, or possibly putting, since we own the property on Forest Avenue, across the street from the cemetery, sidewalks from corner to the corner of the property so they can ride their bicycles on a sidewalk instead of in the middle of Forest Avenue. Especially with all the wildlife and the accidents lately, there was just some concerns.
So, I have an opinion on this only because it came up when I was on council several years ago, and my opinion then is sort of the same. I mean, you all could do, I'm just going to give you what my opinion is. I feel like Forest Avenue is a very heavily traveled at a high rate of speed area, and that to invite children to get onto Forest Avenue would be more dangerous than putting inside, like, to keep them off of Forest would be safer than to put them onto Forest, even on a sidewalk. I've never seen a kid on a bicycle. The only time I've ever even heard of a bicycle is when, unfortunately, the child from another town,
I see them every day when I come home from work.
really?
And I beat them.
And they're kids.
Yeah.
Interesting, I've never seen it. So we had talked about the Broadway path, a couple of meetings ago, and, which goes from Patrick all the way up to, through the back of, Broadway on Demarest, and then eventually connects with Demarest. Do we think that that might be a safer way to get kids from that part of town? Would they travel that if we worked on getting them through town that way, as opposed to putting them on Forest? Dave, what's your opinion on putting kids on Forest?
I mean, listen, Forest obviously is a busy road, very busy road. If they're using it as it sits today, then obviously adding sidewalks would make it safer for them, because then there's a passageway for them as opposed to, going along the shoulder area. I mean, if we can find an alternate pathway and it's, safe and makes sense to have that, then, that is an approach to go, but at the end of the day, people still may walk on Forest, so it may not hurt to have something in place just to help them out.
All right, do you know how many linear feet that is? Do you know what it would cost us to do the sidewalk?
Yeah, so, let me I'll get you the distance now.
Where did you take the sidewalks on the first street there?
Let me just get it
Well, you
here.
have to stop probably before.
Is there sidewalks that whole length?
There's some sidewalks
There's only-
today, if you start at like Soldier Hill, like when you get into just, north of Soldier Hill, there's some sidewalks along there in those couple of communities
there's a
there. But then
sidewalk-
once we get a little bit further north, there isn't, and then we get sidewalks back. So there's a gap of it today.
I think there's a sidewalk from the corner of Soldier Hill to the one side of Jordan. Is that right?
There is.
But then there's no sidewalk from the other side of Jordan all the way until you get to the opposite side of our
But I think
property.
what it was they were coming from, like, down, Ackerman to get into the fairways, so they were cutting across Forest that way, because you can't obviously cut through the property. I think that was the concern.
Say that again?
When you come down Ackerman.
Yeah. You come down towards
By that light, where
Westwood.
the boy was hit unfortunately on his bicycle,
Right.
at that light. They'll take
On
that-
Fourth Ave.
Right, they'll take that little strip and go from there towards, is that not Washington, what is?
To Cindy Lane?
Past it. Where our property is. They'll go like to there.
So,
Well, I think we have to
So
go
there's-
out and see
there's
exactly where there's sidewalks.
You think it's a court, so.
Well,
So there's
no,
sidewalk
you could
at
go-
Cindy.
One second, you could go down Cindy, and then you could go
Or
through,
Rapetti, one of them is a court.
well, Rapetti's Westwood.
Okay.
So,
And the next one, but then after that, they were going to go into, not Washington, but the first street, like literally across from the entrance to the.
Revere.
Revere.
Okay, but
Wom
wait,
Wom.
let me just, Mom, there is, private joke, Mom. So, I think there's a sidewalk in Westwood that goes from the base of Ackerman at Fourth Avenue to the corner property of Cindy Lane. And then if they went up Cindy, they could then make a right on Karen and go up Karen and get into that neighborhood without us putting a sidewalk. But it would take a little bit more work, but there is a sidewalk there.
It really kind of depends on where everybody's looking, where.
I know,
where
but
the
if a
path
child
is.
lives on, like, I feel like I'm only talking that way, if a child starts out on Jordan, this kid is gonna have to go all the way towards the golf course on Jordan, and then maneuver their way all the way to get to Revere on the inside, and then come down, not even Revere, Karen, and then come all the way down Karen to get to a sidewalk, or come down Revere if we put it in. So you're not gonna have a straight shot any way you look at it, along, unless we're gonna start taking people's property and putting a sidewalk along the whole tract of Forest Avenue,
Yeah.
which I don't know if anyone's interested in doing.
So I'll just walk you through, because I'm cheating, I have Google Earth in front
Oh,
of me
that's
here.
great. Go ahead, tell me what we have, Dee.
There's sidewalks starting at Soldier Hill. As we go north, first street is Jordan, there's sidewalk there. From Jordan to Powell, we have sidewalk. From Powell to Colonial, we have sidewalk, and this is along Forest. Then from Colonial to Revere, there is no sidewalk in that location. Then it goes Revere to Cindy. There's no sidewalk except for the three houses that are there that are just to the south of Cindy
Right.
have sidewalk. And then from there, there's sidewalk all the way up. So more or less, it looks like we have a gap from, we'll call it Cindy, down to Colonial, where there's no sidewalk.
So because it's spotty, if you really want to make it safe, and if we're going to put kids on Forest, we would really have to go from Soldier Hill to Ackerman. We couldn't leave it spotty like that, because a kid is not going to say, oh, there's no sidewalk, so I'm going to go all the way up Powell so that I can come all the way down Revere and take myself, they're gonna still stay in the
Well, you would have to go
road.
from Soldier Hill, because it's from Soldier Hill all the way to, it is Soldier Hill, he said, too.
Yeah, so,
No, but if they wanna just go to that one missing sidewalk track between streets, how many streets is it? They're not gonna go all the way up and then come all the way
It's
down.
only, I think, I'm looking at what he's looking at. I don't want to speak for you.
so we have, it's about, let's call it 1,800 feet of roadway there that has no sidewalk.
Including the property that we own?
Correct.
So what about the property we don't own? About how much is that? Where there's no sidewalk and it's
Yeah.
people's side yards?
Yeah, so that's about, let's just call that 800 feet. So 1,000 is the town, and then 800 are the...
All right,
the
so for
residential properties
800
that are there
feet,
today.
Nicole, I would suggest that we look into and talk to the residents and say that we want to put a whole sidewalk, because if we all are doing part of it, I don't know that we're really making it safer, because those kids are still going to go that 800 feet in the street. Do you agree?
Dave?
If this is something the borough wants to pursue, this is something we can look to get grants, whether it's
Just
safe
gonna say
routes
safe
to
routes to school,
school,
that's-
and that
Right,
is-
but I also want to talk to the residents and see how opposed they are to this, because once we put a sidewalk in, then it's the responsibility to maintain it,
Correct.
you know,
But-
and they're going to lose part of their easement and stuff like that.
So, we're worried about the easement over people's safety?
Well, no, I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is, years ago when this came up, I was against it, because I think it's safer just to keep the kids on Patrick going through Broadway if we enhance Broadway and completely keep them off of
You do have
Forest Ave.
adults walking on Forest to go to the Bergen football games during football season.
I know, but that's not ours, that's Oregon.
I understand that, but the people do come from Emerson.
Yeah.
And you're banking on a lot of parents telling their kids to stay off Forest Ave.
Look, I don't know, I honestly don't know what the answer is there. I just know that I certainly would never walk along Forest.
People
because-
do though, as you go farther towards Route 4.
Yeah, but we can't be worried about what's going on in Brown. That's
I'm just telling you,
Brown.
I understand that, but what I'm saying is there's sidewalk all along Forest Ave.
So you think it would be okay to put it in Emerson too?
I don't see why you wouldn't continue it.
So would you want to do it, the whole tract of everywhere that's in Emerson, or just in the 1,000 feet
This
that we
is the
own?
concern of the people of the town right now, Forest Ave.
Well, okay, all right.
It's just a thought.
I mean, if you're gonna, if I can just jump in, I mean, if you're gonna do the sidewalk, I would put it so that it's continuous the whole way, you know.
That would be the smart
Our own
thing to do,
property
yeah.
as well as, I mean, it's within the municipal, well, it's really the county right away, but it would be within the county right away. Yes, it's on people's, what they, you know, want to
Consider their
maintain,
property,
but it's, you know, part of the right of way, and it is our right to put the sidewalk in
Well, I
there.
guess I would like to hear some feedback also from the residents that live in that section of town to see if they really, I don't know how many people have said it, Nicole, if it was 1 or 2 people, or whether it was 30 people that were together.
About 5.
About 5? So I'd like them to maybe come to a meeting or write us an email or something, asking us and telling us, so that before we undertake something like this and potentially tick off some people who are now going to have to maintain the sidewalk that they never had before for the safety of the kids,
It's a small price to pay.
that it's, but if it was your property, you would
I have
probably
one in
have
front of my
questions. I know, but if you
The only one
did
that has the
it,
sidewalk
if
on
you
my
did
street.
it and then they suddenly put one, you would have some questions about it. So I think we need to go through a process of letting people know what we're thinking about doing before we just go ahead and say we're putting in sidewalks. Agreed?
Sure.
And explain to them that it's for the safety of the children. Everyone agree with that?
I think everyone.
Or you just want to go in and take the property and put the sidewalks?
Definitely announce it, put it on the next,
Right.
do, and invite them, but I think we'll all say yes. Because I remember the state schools conversation for my neighborhood, remember, over by Memorial, Crest, and even I was like, you want to put a sidewalk on?
Yeah, we got pushback.
And I remember going, oh, but then at the end of the day, I mean, I have how many kids walking down that street? My husband's just gonna have to shovel, because it's chaos driving down that block, or walking down that block with all my kids.
No, I agree that sidewalks are always safer, but you can't just piecemeal plop one in just on our property and then leave them to the Wild West for the 800 feet or wherever else there isn't sidewalk.
And Dave, you did say there are certain grants that we can look into.
Yeah, there's definitely, I mean, fortunately, like, yeah, you would fall within, it definitely would fall within the safe routes to school because, pretty much the entire borough is within 1 mile of a school, so.
There's a section in that area that has to pay for busing. That's not included.
Correct.
It's out of the length.
There is one little section
Okay.
that town.
Well, it depends on what you guys have, yeah.
Issue I know residents that came to me about, and I know that probably not us, all board for it.
Okay. So Rob, would you find out exactly where we would have to put this sidewalk and find out which property owners are affected by it so that we could reach out to them and let them know that we are possibly doing something like this?
Sure.
And I'm sure you're going to say it's not legally, that we don't have to notice them, but
Listen,
I would be more
always-
comfortable if we did notice
Listen,
them
it's always
and have them part of
helpful.
the conversation.
Yeah, no, it's always helpful to have the community's buy-in when
Right.
you're putting sidewalk in there, because, it's obviously a change, and it's, their area that they're gonna have to
Right.
own and maintain, so, you may get pushback from some of them, some you may not, and
Right.
at the end of the day, you just have to make the
At the
decision,
we
what's
have
the
to go and what's in
way to
favor
go.
of the greater good for the kids and the safety of the
Yeah.
welfare of the borough.
Just asking the question.
Do you want to go knock on the doors and inform the people?
I think it's in the county.
It's a county easement, he said.
Can we get money from the county?
Can you get money from the county?
road?
I'm gonna say, I can't speak for the county, but I would say they probably would not, from what I've seen in other, communities. They wouldn't be opposed to the municipality putting in the sidewalk, but typically, their jurisdiction, while it is the county right-of-way, the entire thing, typically they govern from curb to curb, so from face to curb to face to curb.
And we do have a water issue there
We do.
on Jordan and also further down in front of where our property is. Does this, putting a sidewalk in, could create a bigger problem or it's negligible?
It's negligible in the grand scheme of things. I mean, yeah. I mean, if you're really worried about it, you could put pervious concrete and the water would then go through it. But I would just go with regular concrete. It would be negligible in the grand scheme of things.
Okay. All right, so, Rob, you're going to find out, and we'll start on that, and then you're going to find out what grants are available and try to get us some kind of a cost estimate.
Sure.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, so we'll go from there. And if all the stars align, we'll make Forest Avenue safer.
Find grant money and curb the,
Dave,
from last grant, next year's grant to make.
could the curbing help the flooding if we go high enough?
You mean do curve cuts then?
No.
I don't know if you could you, she has an interesting question. If we put in curbs and now they're virgin curbs, can we then apply for CDBG money to put in the cuts? Or do they have to be installed ADA accessible from the get-go?
Well, they have,
I would think they have to be installed
I guess
ADA
it's a good
accessible
question
from
to
the
ask,
get-go.
like, if you're gonna put in, virgin ramps, could it qualify? It's a good question.
All right, so we'll look into that as well.
I mean, it would get you, I think it'd be like about four.
Use that for next year,
All right, which brings us to stormwater management.
Thank you.
Yeah,
which is tied right into
Right.
that grant for forest.
yeah. You want me to
Sure.
jump in?
Go ahead.
Which one do you want me to start with? 'Cause I
Just
know
the stormwater, on the first one, I think we're already at forest, so we might as well
Yeah,
stay
we're on
there.
Forest right
We're
now.
on forest now, so,
That was my segue into it.
I don't remember if it was earlier this year, I think it was earlier this year, we had applied, for grants to try to address, some of the flooding issues and stuff over in Jordan, in that area. We've met with the county, regarding that matter, had to sit down to go through things with them to get their buy-in on, the whole thing as well. Ultimately, the borough did receive recently, a grant for $1 million to put towards the cost, for that particular, reason, to address the flooding and stuff that's going on in that area. Looking back at our notes and stuff that we had prepared back then, for it, ultimately, we're looking at, potentially about a $9 to $10 million project that includes all your soft costs, permitting, all that stuff, to carry out big picture of what we potentially think,
With
could
the
help
pipe
over
going
there.
through the cemetery.
Yeah. Now, keep in mind, that was just really very preliminary, very conceptual, of what was done to look at it, right? So we just did a big view and said, looking at the overall area that this would be ultimately the size of a drainage pipe that we would need, or in this scenario, culvert to run through there. Ultimately, now that you have monies in place, through this grant, really your next step is going to be, doing an analysis, looking at it in more detail, getting, real data, meaning picking up the survey, getting your topography, getting all your existing drainage information that's there, and performing an analysis to see really when we run the model, what the problems are within that area. Now, do we know today, we can know, okay, it floods over here, it floods over there, but ultimately, to come up with the right solution to the problem, we need to do the real engineering behind it, and look at what's there today, and look to see what we can do to enhance it. Obviously, we're looking at, a $10 million number, right? So that's kind of outside the means of the borough's finances to be able to do it. So this study, what it'll allow us to do is, again, model, replicate what's there today, look at it, pinpoint where the problem childs are within the system, and then see what we can do with the $1 million to improve the situation and make things better.
And what's the price tag on the analysis?
I haven't had a chance to put it together. I would envision probably about 75 to 100,000, roughly. I gotta fine tune it and talk to my surveyors to see what they need on their end. But that's about where we've, in other communities, it might be a little bit less than that, but somewhere in that ballpark, based on what we've done. But again,
And-
let me fine tune it and look
And
at
is that
everything.
considered a soft cost that can come out of the $1 million?
Assuming that assuming that you're allowed to take the soft cost out of it, I haven't really seen all the details of it, I'm assuming that you can.
Okay.
That would qualify for that.
Okay. All right, anyone have any more questions on that? And do you need us to tell you tonight to do that, or are we going to roll that over?
What I will do
You're
is
gonna give
I can give you a detailed proposal
Yeah.
outlining what we would be doing, so that you can see that and give you a true number.
All right, so then we'll talk
You're
about
just
that.
telling me to move forward with that, I'll,
Do we want a
to see that.
proposal to see what this model would look like, to do the analysis?
I think so.
Guys?
Right, but before we do that, do you want to look at the terms of the grant, of that money that we awarded to make sure it's covered? Or is it something we do that?
well, listen, ultimately,
Yeah, Rob, did you look at the grant?
I did look at the grant. From what I believe and what we saw, and we have to check with everything, make sure, because this way it's 100%, but we do believe that the soft costs are involved, that we are allowed to use the soft costs from this, in this grant. Some grants we're not, CDBG, you're not allowed. This grant is specifically, we believe we are allowed to use them, yes.
yeah, and I would just note, whether it is or it isn't, if you're gonna look, obviously you got the money to do this stuff, so you wanna do something to help the residents of Emerson out. Ultimately, you're gonna have to do the study, no matter what.
I agree. I just want
It's just a matter of, no.
Dave, I was just going to say, we did this with Dorchester, and the Dorchester grant that we've also received. It's very similar to what you're looking to do there, correct?
Well, the Dorchester isn't a grant. The Dorchester is just federal money that was given to us.
So,
I don't
Yeah.
think it's matching.
neither one of these, we don't have to match. It's not.
It's just an outright allocation from...
Right, same,
for the
that's what I'm saying, but we did the same thing basically with your analysis, what I'm saying, what you're asking for is to do basically the same thing that you did over at Dorchester.
Yeah, and on that federal one, you'll just have to look, because I know we've gotten, in some of my other communities, there might
Okay,
be
so-
criteria that they have in there,
just to clarify, this second $1 million is an allocation from the American Rescue Plan's fiscal recovery funds that they are giving out. It's not a grant, it's a direct allocation.
This is the most recent one?
COVID money, it's from COVID.
Okay, okay.
It's COVID money left over.
And it's being administered through the, what is it, Michelle? Department of Community Affairs, just so that everybody's clear on
Yeah.
what money we're talking about.
Okay.
And it is not like a matching grant like we get from other places.
No.
So we have $1 million to do the Forest Avenue, $1 million without a matching grant to do the Dorchester situation.
Yeah, and that's gonna be the same.
But we need more money to do each project, but this is a beginning.
Yeah, and so the one on Dorchester and Vivian, I mean, just to give you an idea, I think we've talked about that one in the past as well.
And as you know, and I just want the council to know that the money, this $1 million from the American Rescue Plan it's given to us to determine how we deem it necessary to appropriate the money. So there's not really strings on it.
Yeah, so the other drainage area, I mean, just to, as we're going through them, so that, when we had put together our cost estimate, which I think this included the soft cost, it was about a $2.4 million project. Again, same thing should be done. We need to do, the analysis to see what's actually going on, so that we have that data, and then we can pinpoint and see where we can go with that. That one's going to be a little easier to do if we want to break that into a multi-phase project, just the way that neighborhood's structured. You'll be able to do something more. We would start at the downstream side and kind of work our way up and branch it out as we go through the project, so you can focus on some of the more concerned areas first. But again, we still need to do that study so that we can get an idea, what the overall issues are and pinpoint, what we can actually accomplish there, so.
Okay. Which brings us to New Jersey Department of Community Affairs, fourth round affordable housing calculations. Caroline Ryder of T&M is with us, our borough planner, who is advising us on affordable housing planning, and our affordable housing counsel, Brian Giblin of Giblin and Ganio, are both here to answer any questions and talk about what the next steps are in the process. Caroline, would you like to come up? Rob, would you help Caroline with setting up or getting a chair or something? Brian, are you going to come up as well? Okay, great. Why don't you come here? We actually don't have a camera running tonight, right? Because we had some technical difficulty. So we're going to have to, I'm taping it on my telephone so that we have a recording for sure. I have this just in case. Thanks for scooting over, Dave. Thank you.
Is there anything else you would need to set up?
I'm good, thank you.
Sure.
I'm good.
Thank you.
But thank you. Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate it very much.
Thanks, Rich.
We'll see you soon. Thank you, Mr. Melchior.
Just let's get started.
Let the record reflect that Mr. McCann joined us.
Why are we sitting with our backs?
Well, I'm saying that as an afterthought, that yes, the cameras are not working, so you don't have to sit with your backs to us. But you were already moving, so thank you for pointing that out. Just let the record reflect that Mr. McCann joined us at, I think it was 8:44. All right, John, just so you know, Rich advised us that it's not legally necessary to tape the meeting or videotape the meeting because our YouTube and our Liberty weren't working together. So I started taping on my telephone, and Michelle finally got the Liberty to work. So we're not on air tonight, we're just kind of, okay? I just wanted to let you know what was going on.
Good.
Okay.
So, no, I have not seen anything.
No, we're not. I'm sure there's a lot of people home scratching their heads why we're not on YouTube tonight, but I don't understand why either, because it's technical difficulties as
I
usual.
was having trouble with my internet all day.
It was bad yesterday, too.
I had it yesterday.
I think if you have Verizon has had outages
Yep.
throughout.
So maybe that's what our issue is, I don't know, but it's unfortunate that we don't have the public watching, and we'll have a recording for them to listen to. So Caroline, welcome, would you like to begin?
Thank you, Mayor.
Obviously, there are some things in terms of, I don't want to use the word strategy, but like planning, that we have to talk about certain properties that we will have to discuss in closed session. But I would just like to go over the big picture of what we're looking at since the state brought down the numbers, and tell us what next steps are so that the public can be educated on what we're working on.
Sure. Thank you. So, as the mayor indicated, DCA did release its affordable housing obligations, or what it believes to be the state's affordable housing obligations, based on the legislation that was adopted in March of this year. And as everyone remembers, or hopefully you remember, we were here, we gave just a general information session, I believe in June, about the legislation. So the numbers that DCA released for Emerson, and this is all public information on DCA's website, that Emerson's obligation is 181 units. That's what's known as the prospective need. The rehabilitation need, which is also commonly referred to as the present need, is 0 or no units. So going forward in round 4, there won't be a rehabilitation, or it appears there will not be a rehabilitation obligation. The prospective need, which is the one we need to focus on, is 181 units. So those obligations were released, I think, about October 18th, which was in line with the deadline included in the legislation. Next steps, in terms of upcoming deadlines, would be for this body to adopt what's known as a binding resolution stating its affordable housing obligation. That needs to be done no later than January 31st, 2025. Failure to do so will remove your protection from exclusionary zoning litigation. So what that process will entail is adoption of a resolution. I'm assuming there will be, or I would like to think there would be, a template released so that you could sort of fill in the blanks with respect to what you believe your obligation to be. And I would assume you would either utilize the DCA obligation or utilize another obligation with an explanation of why you're not utilizing DCA's obligation. And again, that's January 31st is that deadline. The next deadline after that would be for the Land Use Board, and that would be to adopt a housing element and fair share plan, which is the housing element is a required component of the municipal master plan that's adopted by the Land Use Board at public hearing with public notice, and that needs to be done no later than June 30th. Failure to meet that deadline would result in the municipality losing its protection from exclusionary zoning litigation. So those are the two really important dates. Just to backtrack for a minute, let's go back to your binding resolution. That needs to be adopted by the end of January, and then there's a submission process. Then if there's going to be a challenge of whatever your stated obligation is, that needs to be submitted by, I believe, February 28th. So there'll be 28 days, or approximately a month, for an interested party to submit a challenge to what Emerson indicates is its obligation.
And who could an interested party be?
That could be the Fair Share Housing Center, it could be a property owner, it could be a developer.
Yeah.
Anyone else?
Could be anybody.
Anybody.
I do think, though, it's March, the end of March. I think they have 2 months to challenge the number. I'm pretty sure I saw that it was March.
It's not. I don't think that's correct. It's February 28th, and then if there's no challenge by March 1st, that's your obligation. That's your obligation. I believe I think it's March 31st, or is when, if there is a challenge, it's supposed to be resolved some point in March. So it's definitely February 28th.
If there's a challenge, it has to be, do they have to substantiate the reasoning for their challenge?
I would, go ahead.
We have to substantiate our number.
Okay.
So if we vary from what DCA says is our obligation, we would have to be able to substantiate that.
Right.
In other words, we
And then
can't,
if a developer comes in to challenge, or a property owner, do they have to, in their challenge, substantiate why they feel the number that we proposed is incorrect?
I don't think that's the way it's going to work. I think we're going to have to substantiate what our number is, because we're the ones that get to say what our
So
obligation
they
is.
just challenge it?
DCA came out and said, here's your number. I don't think anybody's going to challenge our number if we use DCA's. They're going to challenge it if we come in with a reduced number, and it's going to be up to us to be able to validate it.
but I think that's your question, Councilman, right? That let's, I'm not gonna say, so if our number is 181 from DCA. So I don't even want to put out there what another obligation could be.
But if you did an analysis and suggested to us that 181, in your estimation, wasn't our number, and it was something lower,
Then we went in with that, and then you adopted a binding resolution indicating that was your obligation, then it's challenged by person X.
and do they just say, I challenge?
I would like
Or
to-
do they have to say why they challenge? Is that what they're asking?
I would like to think that they would have to have a rationale for the challenge, because then it's a program that's going to make a decision, right? It's going to, what's called the program now. It's going to be reviewing the challenge and the information, and then supposedly facilitating discussion and decision.
And then we would answer their challenge
Yeah.
and say, this is what we think because.
Right, but
Yeah.
again, in reality, DCA came out with the numbers. They used the same formula statewide as the formula that Judge Jacobson came out with in her decision, which is what governed the third round. So ultimately, I think if we're going to vary from that, we're going to have to say why we did and why it's reasonable.
So, let me just amplify, your question is a good one. It's really, whose burden is it, right?
Right.
So it's, and the true answer is, no one knows, because this process is so new, but my instinct is what I think Mr. Gibb was talking about, his experience in doing this for years, is that if we're going to say our number is 181 and we think it's 150, the burden is going to be on us to demonstrate why. And so anyone's challenging is more than likely going to have some sort of, I challenge, and the burden set, and we're going to have to explain why that number is what it is. So more than likely, that's what's going to happen. So I agree with Mr. Gibble.
Okay, do you have any other information for us?
In light of the fact that we're in open session, no, I don't.
All right, I respect that.
I would just say that I think the deadlines are really important, and I know that, Mayor, you and the council take this equally as importantly, or equally as seriously, I should say, and
And
recognize
we've
its
already
importance.
authorized you to start doing some of the
Yes.
groundwork in order to determine whether you think and Brian thinks that that number is fair and equitable to the borough. So that is
Right.
something that you are working on behind the scenes that you will update us on in closed session.
Yes, I don't have yes.
Yes. Do you have information for us for closed session this evening?
Nothing concrete, no, but I know it's my understanding that you all wanted to speak in closed, and I think that's not a bad idea.
Okay, good. Then we'll ask you to both stay for closed session. Okay.
That's your question. I just have I don't know if this is, you're the right person who I asked. You know, when you guys sign affordable housing, 181 units, developers don't just come in and build 181 units from what we see, right? They build, is there like a ratio for every affordable unit a developer wants?
20%.
Okay, so we already know that if 181 is our number, then
So
something
300.
not, but really, Emerson's be getting 300 and something.
Well, a lot more than that.
So,
Right, assume, that's,
181 would be the 20% of whatever, so what's,
Five times.
yeah.
5 times
is
that?
that like, they can't go higher, is that like, they can't build more than that, right? Or is that the minimum, is that, you know, that's the maximum?
That's the obligation that the town needs to address. I will say, in the past, Emerson's been what's known as a vacant land community. We've received a vacant land adjustment that's resulted in RDP, a realistic development potential. And although we have not started this analysis, that would really be far down the road. I would be very surprised to find out that Emerson was not, again, a vacant land town and did not pursue the vacant land adjustment process because that process is for towns that do not have enough land to build or to zone for their full obligation. And since you were a vacant land adjustment town in the past, it would not surprise me, or probably anybody else, that you'd be a vacant land adjustment town going forward.
All right, so we're going to reserve any of our other questions, I think, for closed session. Is everyone okay with that? Because we may get too deep into the woods and put them in a predicament where they don't want to speak in open. Okay? Okay, so, do you have anything further to say right now? All right, so if you guys just want to chill, we're going to move on in the agenda. You could stay there if you're comfortable, or you could go back. You're not on camera, so it doesn't matter. But wherever you're comfortable is good. And we're going to just get through the rest of the agenda, and,
A good day to sit back.
then get into closed. So, that brings us to, did everybody read the, did everybody read the two resolutions? Are you guys ready to vote on that? About the pilot and the, what resolutions do we pass? Oh, for the community development, I'm sorry. You wrote all this down?
I didn't know if you wanted to add something.
Well, it depends on what they want to do. Do you guys want to just add those two are you comfortable adding those two resolutions to consent?
Yeah.
Jill, yes. Ashley, are you comfortable adding them to consent? Jill, Nicole?
Yes.
All right, Brian and,
Sure.
all right, so we're going to add them to consent. Can we get them back to Michelle so that she could number them and put them on consent? Yeah. There were two of them. All right, which brings us to introduction of ordinances. Ms. Ryan will announce by number and title the following ordinances. Upon approval, these ordinances will be further considered at a public hearing to be held on December 3rd, 2024 at 7:30 p.m. or soon thereafter, as the matter can be addressed in the council chambers of the Borough Hall, Municipal Place, Emerson, New Jersey, and published in the record. All ordinances are on the borough website and on file in the office of the municipal clerk if anyone would like copies, excuse me. Ms. Ryan, would you please read the title of the ordinance?
Sure, this is ordinance 1696-24, ordinance of the Borough of Emerson, Bergen County, New Jersey, to amend in its entirety Chapter 61-7 entitled Secretary of Recreation Commission.
Okay, may I have a motion?
Second.
And a roll call, please.
Councilwoman Argentino.
Yes.
Councilwoman Rice.
Yes.
Councilwoman McGuire.
Yes.
Councilwoman Gordon.
Yes.
And Councilwoman Sayers.
Yes.
All right, now we're on adoption of ordinances. This is the second reading and public hearing of ordinance 1694-24. Ms. Ryan, would you please read the title of this ordinance?
Sure. This is ordinance 1694-24, an ordinance of the Borough of Emerson, Bergen County, New Jersey, to amend in its entirety Chapter 247, Stormwater Management, Article 1, Stormwater Control.
Okay. May I have a motion to open the meeting for comments from the public on this and this ordinance only?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we are open to the public on this adoption of the ordinance for stormwater. Would anyone like to speak on that? Seeing no hands, may I have a motion to close the public portion on this ordinance?
So moved. Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. May I have a motion to adopt ordinance number 1694-24 on second reading?
So moved. Second.
May I have a roll call, please?
Sorry, was that Councilwoman Argentino?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Councilwoman Argentino?
Yes.
Councilwoman Rice?
Yes.
Councilwoman McGuire?
Yes.
Councilwoman Gordon?
Yes.
And Councilwoman Sayers?
Yes.
Passes 5-0.
Thank you. And then our next ordinance is for second reading and public hearing, 1695-24. Ms. Ryan will again read the title of this ordinance.
Sure, this is ordinance 1695-24, an ordinance of the Borough of Emerson, Bergen County, New Jersey, to establish Chapter 247, Stormwater Management, Article 10, entitled Privately Owned Salt Storage.
May I have a motion to open the meeting for public comment on this and this ordinance only?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We are open on the privately owned salt storage ordinance. Anyone wish to speak? Seeing no hands, may I have a motion to close this portion of the meeting for public comment on this ordinance?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We are now closed. May I have a motion to adopt ordinance 1695-24 on second reading?
Second.
May I have a roll call, please?
Councilwoman Arzenzia.
Yes.
Councilwoman Wright.
Yes.
Councilwoman McGuire.
Yes.
Councilman Gordon.
Yes.
And Councilwoman Sayers.
Yes.
Okay, that brings us to reports. Ms. Arzenzia, do you have a report for us?
A very small one, there.
Okay.
The flu and COVID-19 vaccine clinic sponsored by the Emerson Board of Health and the Newbridge Medical Center will be held Thursday, November 14th, from 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. at the Senior Center. Don't forget to get your shot. The Board of Health's rabies vaccine clinic for dogs and cats was successful this past weekend. Thank you to Mary Cox, the Health Department, who was our Health Department Secretary, and the DPW for making it a success.
Okay, Councilwoman Rice, do you have a report for us?
Well, from environmental, their next meeting is November 18th, and they're welcoming all of the high school volunteers that help them do the woods cleanup. So they'd like you all to come and, share their, things, and I think they're probably just distributed or something. And then the Board of Ed, Dr. Newton just wants everyone to know that the tennis court project is moving along ahead of schedule. The construction is going very well, and they're doing a great job. Yeah.
Very nice, thank you. Good to hear that that is moving along. Councilwoman McGuire, do you have a report for us this evening?
Yes, short one. The library board will be meeting this Thursday, November 14th at 7:30. Please check the library website, www.emersonlibrary.com, for their array of services, programs, and classes. The next Historic Preservation Committee meeting takes place at Borough Hall on Monday, November 18th at 7 p.m. And also just thank you to all our veterans. I know yesterday was Veterans Day, but I didn't get to say thank you.
Okay. Councilman Gordon, do you have a report for us this evening?
Yes, I'd like to give a shout out, to EVAC. They're always looking for volunteers. You can reach out to them at evac@emersonnj.org. Same with Shade Tree. They're always looking for volunteers. They always need a hand. And if you would, please be kind and reach out to them. And you can reach them at shadetree@emersonnj.org.
Well, if someone wants to volunteer on Shade Tree,
They can reach out.
to the clerk to get to us.
Oh,
because
I'm
it's an
sorry,
appointment.
that was my mistake.
Yeah,
Yeah, I thought they could just reach out to them.
no.
Sorry.
Well, they could to let them know, to find out what it's about, to see if it's something that they'd like to
Right, I
do.
didn't know they had to get in touch
Ultimately,
with
it's
the
our
clerk.
appointment, yeah.
Gotcha. All right, and then my last report would be from the DPW. They've completed their leaf bag distribution as of the 12th. It ran for 5 weeks. They've also, in the Emerson Woods, cleared the sewer backup of roots. The 2024 street repaving started today, November 12th through the 14th. And they've started their fall cleanups at the parks. And Cindy Lane Pump Station is up and running.
You stole my thunder. I'll just leave now.
It's still a little messy looking over there, but it's a lot better looking, so I won't steal your thunder.
All right.
Councilwoman Sayers, do you have a report for us?
Yes, I do. The borough held a successful free paper shredding event on Saturday, November 2nd. We had a larger turnout over last year. Our residents were able to dispose of their sensitive documents securely, and the borough was able to recycle tons of paper and keep it out of our garbage stream. Once the final tonnage is sent to us, we will add it to our recycling tonnage report to generate some grant funds. The New Jersey Department of Community Affairs has announced that applications for the fiscal year 2025 local recreation improvement grant programs are available. This grant helps government agencies improve and repair recreation facilities. Applications are due by 5 p.m. on January 31st, so the grant subcommittee will be meeting soon to discuss potential projects and then bring it to the governing body for further discussion at our December 3rd meeting. Bergen County Utilities Authority is holding a household hazardous waste collection on Saturday, November 16th from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. And last, I just want to thank everybody who came out and voted in the November 2024 election. I look forward to continuing to serve the town of Emerson. So thank you.
Congratulations, Councilman. Okay, that comes, well, I guess I'll go. I want to thank every resident who voted in this year's general election. Contrary to what some people sitting next to me think, Emerson had the highest voter turnout in all of Bergen County with 74.87. John told me he thought that Oakland had just as high, but they did not. And I sent them the 2 news articles to prove it.
The media is right?
On this, the media is right, because they got their calculations from the
I don't
county.
think the provisional ballots have been counted, man.
Okay, to be continued. So, but there are 2 news articles saying that we had the highest. So,
2 times wrong.
so I want to congratulate everyone who did come out to vote. A democratic process where everybody participates, gets the results from the whole electorate, and it is appreciated that you come out and cast your ballots. But win or lose, I know firsthand how hard it is to go door to door and the time that you sacrifice to be a candidate. So we do acknowledge everyone that put their name on a ballot and thank them for being part of the process. A special congratulations to Councilwoman Sayers, Ashley Sayers, and as you can see, we have a new face sitting up here with us that is getting herself up to speed. This is Councilwoman-elect Megan Cellino, who will be, after the ballots are certified, be joining us on the dais come our reorganization meeting in January. So I'm very proud of both of them and the hard work that they did in order to be elected to the council and for you to continue to serve, Ashley. So I look forward to working with both of you in 2025 with our new governing body, and obviously that means that there's going to be one person not sitting up here, but we will talk about that in December, Brian. I also want to congratulate Bruce Pasdar on being elected to the Board of Education. The Mayor and Council and American Legion Post 269 held our annual Veterans Day ceremony yesterday. Was it yesterday? It seems like it was a long time ago.
Yesterday.
Wow. Feels like it was last week. At the Senior Center, fittingly, it was a beautiful day with about 50 residents in attendance to honor our veterans. The veterans who attended proudly shared their rank, military branch of service, and years of duty so that they could be properly recognized for their service. Thank you to Chief Savino and the Emerson Police Department for providing the delicious breakfast catered from Flynn's Deli in Westwood, and to Starbucks for the donation of the coffee urns. Everything was delicious. It truly was a magnificent morning, and I am happy to report that Bergen County Housing has put a trailer on site for the veteran, on the property of the veteran housing on Main Street as a temporary home for the American Legion, so that they could begin again holding their meetings on their property and not be wherever there's a free room again. So we're happy about that. The Anchor rebate program provides up to $1,750 to income-eligible homeowners or renters. More information can be found at anchor.nj.gov. You could also call Lauren and ask her about this if you have a question. The deadline has been extended to December 6th for new applicants. Don't forget, mark your calendars. The borough's annual Christmas tree lighting will be held on Sunday, December 1st. Time to be determined outside of Borough Hall. More details will be announced as we get closer to the date. As we get to the winter months, I encourage our residents to sign up to receive emergency notifications and other information through our rave alert system. You could do that by going to www.emersonnj.org/rave, R-A-V-E. And as always, more information on all of these events is available and posted on our borough website. We also have a Borough of Emerson Facebook page that most of this information is also posted on too, if that's easier for you, but the website always has everything. Please, and it might be easier to find there. Please be aware that the borough will be closed on Thursday, November 28th and 29th for the Thanksgiving holiday. The November 26th meeting of the Emerson governing body has been canceled. However, the next meeting will take place on Thursday, December 3rd at 7:30 p.m. in the Borough Hall. Oh, did I say Thursday? Oh, I'm sorry, Tuesday, December 3rd at 7:30 p.m. Nicole's laughing at me. And we've been watching the news, and these wildfires have not stopped, and they're starting to pop up all over our state now. And they are in some of our nearby communities. So, as you know, it's been abnormally dry and windy. The state of New Jersey has asked residents and businesses to reduce their water usage to help conserve the water supply. Emerson is located in the extreme fire danger area, and that means that no charcoal fires are allowed at this time. I think that also includes fire pits. Fires in an elevated stove using only propane. Natural gas or electricity are permitted at this time. I thank you all for your cooperation with this for the safety of all Emersonians and for your neighbors. I did already congratulate the soccer team, but hopefully you can get out there and catch their game on Friday. Michelle, did you have a report for us this evening?
Sure, Mayor. Thank you. So I just wanted to give a little bit of an update on the election. So last Tuesday, November 5th, was the general election. These are unofficial results, but locally, Councilwoman Ashley Sayers received 2,258 votes. Megan Ciolino received 2,249. Richard Dinello received 1,838. And Kate Stutzel received 1,819 votes. For the Board of Education, Biruz Pasdar ran unopposed and received 2,880 votes. The mayor and John talked about the turnout. The Bergen County Clerk's office updates the results and on a continual basis. And out of 5,826 registered voters in Emerson, there was a turnout of 4,385 voters who cast their ballots, which is actually 75.27%.
So we went up.
Voter. Yes, you did.
All right, challenge that, John.
The Bergen County Clerk's office, as I said, keeps updating the results, and they will certify the results by November 20th. You can go to their website, bergencountyclerk.gov, to view the artificial results. I just wanted to thank Deputy Clerk Triasa B. Simone and John Rispoli, as well as our Administrator, Rob Hermanson, Perry and Leon from the DPW, Chief Savino, Lieutenant Sakirka, Detective McDermott, and Officer Lennon, and all the poll workers and student poll workers for the smooth election. Other towns reported lines of an hour and a half, a little bit of chaos, a little bit, but we had none of that here, and it was a very smooth election. And so I wanted to thank everybody.
Well, thank you. And as they say, it takes a village. It took a lot of people to put that together, and we appreciate everybody's hard work on it, so that we did have an uneventful election here in Emerson. I just need to go back to my report for a second. I forgot to shout out the Recreation Commission, who had a fabulous second Fall Harvest Festival this year. Did I say that? I don't even remember because we've talked about so much. I thought I talked about how many people came to it, so I'm having like a deja vu. But I did not shout out the Rec Commission because This was a dream that we had last year in August that they pulled off less than 2 months later at really no cost to the taxpayer. And they've done it for a second time, and it's just getting better and better. And I think everybody thoroughly enjoys the Harvest Festival. So now it's nice that we have 2 events, one in the early summer for the summer kickoff, and then one in the fall where residents can get together and see each other in large numbers in order to, catch up with each other. So it's not like they're waiting a whole year to see each other again. And as it relates to the election, I want to congratulate our acting clerk, Michelle Ryan, for pulling off a absolutely flawless election on November 5th, and as well as everybody that supported her. So thank you, Michelle, for that. Because we did not have one glitch, and I did read in the newspaper and heard from other mayors that they did have issues with some of the electronics and with some of the poll workers, and we had none of that, and I think that's what helped us to get such a high voter turnout at the polls, because everybody was able to seamlessly come out and vote.
May I add to that?
Sure.
I want to say the same thing that you just said. One of the things that I can tell you that I saw around town, we had heard from other towns and other administrators, is the average wait time that the people were seeing at the polls. Our average voter took less than 2 minutes by the time they got in and out of the poll, where most towns were up to 3.5 to 4 minutes. A lot of that had to do with our clerk on her planning of what she did and how the lines worked and how they were going to maneuver things and what she did, and it truly worked. There were towns where people were getting off the line not to vote because they couldn't wait any longer. Our lines moved very, very quickly,
And everybody
got the chance to vote. And I want to congratulate, I really do. I think our clerk did a fantastic job, and I really do believe that the turnout had a lot to do with our clerk.
I think early voting had a little bit also, because we did have a pretty high percentage of people that early voted, and it is something that we that we recommend moving forward, because it will keep the lines short at early voting as well as on election day voting, with all of these new systems that they keep on coming up with, the electronics.
Thank one more.
Sure, Michelle, we should have brought her flowers. We just wants to thank everybody.
No, I think that having stanchions and a clearly defined areas
Helped out
for the voting
tremendously.
process did help, and I just wanted to thank Gary Schwinder and Congregation B'nai Israel and Marie Schutz for loaning us their stanchions.
Yeah, oh, that was very kind. Yes, we appreciate that. And, as we have these elections, we always talk about how do we get the polling places out of the schools, and that is something that we are continually working on, trying to find new places to hold the elections so that the kids can go on with their school day and whatnot. So, Rob, why don't we just jump over to you right now?
Okay, I'll tie in just a couple quick things that I know Dave is going to get. Where's our RFQ qualifications for our professionals is out. We're still accepting the qualifications for individuals, for professionals. We also have a DPW position that we are currently advertising for. We're looking for anybody who would like to put in a resume. We would, please send it to us, courtesy of myself or to our deputy clerk. I also want, like I said, I already congratulated the staff. You already talked about the trailer, and I just want to wish everybody a happy and healthy Thanksgiving. And again, thank you, Michelle, and to my staff for basically doing a fantastic job at the election.
No, you said Thanksgiving. I can't believe this month almost over.
It's almost over. It's basically, the year's basically over. I mean, it's just, you're going to blink and it's going to be reorged. Dave, do you have a report for us this evening? Do you have any big news?
I think your pump station's up and running.
It is? Wow, we've been waiting for that for so long. Thank you.
Almost 2 years.
Yeah. What we thought was going to be, I can go back, I'm a little bit of a paper hoarder, and I was going through and purging papers, and I think I read something where it said that they were going to start it and it was gonna be done in like 6 weeks or something. I don't know, maybe 6 months, and,
Maybe 6 months.
and then the parts didn't come in, and COVID slowed everything down in production for the, infrastructure pieces, and
Yes.
let's get ahead, I digress.
Yeah, so the pump station is up and running. We're currently working with the contractor on project closeout and just working through a couple.
I still saw
Particular
like
details.
cones and stuff out there.
So there's a couple things going on. Just
Yeah.
keep in mind, as part of your road program, we are paving Cindy Lane, so that's maybe what some of the cones could be, because that got milled on, I think, on Friday or Monday. I forget which day.
Oh.
It might have been actually both days, believe it or not. So yeah, so the pump station is done. We're working through a couple little items with it and getting things in order as far as the O&M manual and different things. I know Public Works went through some training with the pump company as well, just so they have an understanding of what's there today and the controls and stuff. So I'm happy to see that happen, and we move on and might have to worry about that
Good,
station for a
and
while.
I want to thank the residents in that neighborhood for their patience
Mhm.
while that project endured endlessly, and now that we have a fully functioning pump station, I hope that your lives are much easier up there as far as traffic and noise.
So can I ask you a question now? One down, one to go. Where are we with the other one?
The other one, we're working with Pumping Services, which is the contractor, to get everything in place. I don't have dates yet for it, and I don't want to say dates, because then the mayor's gonna, you said this.
Yeah, I have somebody else asking me for a date on that too.
I understand. We're pushing them as hard as we can, so we're moving where we can with that, so.
Okay, so I have to give them an update, so
All right,
he's
and then
asking
are
me.
you going to update us on our, no one's announced that yet. Are you going to announce that that's functional
Do
yet?
you want to do it?
Well, we keep on skipping over it. So, we did a major project up on the Ackerman basketball courts, and they are now fully resurfaced, and the backstops and the hoops have been installed, and everything is pretty beautiful and perfect up there. Covered with some leaves right now, but if you can get up there and just push some of the leaves off, you got a really sweet court to shoot some hoops on. And we will do a kind of grand reopening over there, but it's yet to be planned, but it's coming, so look for that, because we'd love to see some kids up there shooting some hoops when we cut a ribbon up there.
Yeah, no, it came out really nice, so.
Yeah, it's beautiful. The
Yeah.
colors, there's a new color scheme, it's beautiful.
I was a little, when I heard the color scheme, I was a little, not sure how it was gonna come out, but it did
Hago
come out
colors.
nice. It's very nice.
And, you know, as it relates to the tennis courts that Ashley was talking about, that we're doing the shared service with, we're getting 4 pickleball courts in a shared service with the high school on the 5 tennis courts. So there'll be 5 fully functional tennis courts, and 2 of those tennis courts will function as 4 overlap-lined pickleball courts at the high school. And we had a meeting to sit down to discuss how many courts and how difficult it would be. Originally, we were going to do 6, and then we had some pickleball players on the volunteers that were on the committee that met and said it would just be between Mr. Sharma, the tennis coach, and the pickleball players. It would have been too crazy to try to cram 6 in. 4 is much more palpable, and they felt that the pickleball players would have more room if just 4, but we still have more than most municipalities, because most of them either have 1 or 2. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because we'll change the colors of the tennis courts as well, and I think they're going to be close to the Cabo colors also. So it's kind of a theme where we're trying to get everything into this red, black, kind of Cabo all over town. What? Spoiler alert, yeah. Well, they're going so fast, you're going to see sooner rather than later
Well,
anyway.
the coloring won't happen this year, but.
Cabo Pride, way to go. Go boys, soccer.
Last thing to update is the road program is underway. The contractor has milled all the roadways, and there is a little bit of a delay. They won't be here tomorrow to pave. They had some equipment issues, so they're
So when
getting
will
it
they be
fixed.
here?
They should be here on Thursday,
Okay.
so just a one-day delay, so. And then, that's all I have.
So if you're walking in the municipal lot, be really careful because there's a lot of ditches.
But it'll be nice when it's done.
It'll be nice when it's done, but it's definitely watch yourself when you're walking if you're coming to Borough Hall for right now.
Yes.
Avoid us until it's paid.
So, that's all that I have to say.
Said avoid us until it's paid. I mean, it really needed to be paid, so they, in some areas, you saw it, it's deep, and then it's not level at all right now, so. Maybe, should we just close that lot to anyone parking in there until it's done? Other than for the police or employees that,
It wouldn't hurt, but
yeah.
if you don't mind.
Well, the police kind of have to.
I'll talk to
Let's close that lot tomorrow, because
talk tomorrow,
honestly, I was
yeah.
out there today, and it's not fun to walk through it. I am afraid someone may trip.
We have the side parking, so.
And it's, yeah, and it's really hard, to get up the lip of the sidewalk, because it's like this thick too. I almost bottomed out my car going up it.
The only concern we have is with the handicap ramp for someone who's handicapped. So we can work with that,
But
though.
someone who's handicapped isn't really gonna be able to navigate all those ditches and the,
Well, like I said, we can navigate. We'll work with that tomorrow.
Yeah.
We'll figure that out.
okay.
That's all I have.
That's all? Okay. You did your report, you did your report, you did your report. Guess what that means? We're on to consent agenda. Oh, no, we're on to public comment. Sorry, skipping the next order of business is public comment. Members of the public are welcome to speak on any topic by coming to the podium and stating your name for the record. In interest of time, speakers are limited to 3 minutes. In consideration of all who may wish to speak, please keep your comments brief and concise. May I have a motion to open the meeting to comments from the public? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we are open to the, we are open to the public. Sir?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. My name is
Welcome.
James Pisone, yes, O-N-E,
I think I've seen you before.
twice. I'm here tonight as a member of...
Oh, sorry, would you speak just a little bit clearer because you're not, the mic is not picking you up?
I'm here tonight as a member of the New Jersey Libertarian Party and our preemptive ordinance repeal project. This is a follow-up to my appearances here in April and July. The chair of our project, as you know, John Paff, P-A-F-F, sent a letter via email to Mayor and Council on March 11th, asking that you review and respond to our request to repeal Peace Good Order chapters 204-1, 2, 3, and 4 of your municipal code, which are preempted by state law. Having received no response to that letter, nor response to my previous appearances, Mr. Paff sent you a follow-up letter via email on September 6th. In that letter, he repeated his request to repeal those chapters. In that letter, he also made you aware of a case from Emerson Municipal Court, State versus, and I won't say the name of the person, it's in the letter, who was initially charged under an NJSA statute, but was allowed to instead plead guilty under preemptive ordinance 204-1, which is explicitly prohibited by the Attorney General's office. Again, we received no response to that letter. At the April 16th meeting, you said you would review and respond to our request. After that meeting, Mr. McCann also told me he had seen the letter and would be reviewing it. At the July meeting, you said the chief was reviewing our request and would make a recommendation to the council, but you could not commit to any date to respond to our request. So my first question is, do you intend to respond to our request?
That's the one to review.
Well, it's not a question and answer. This is just public comment, so this is not a...
Okay. So the council has advised me that, this is a public comment section, not a question and answer period. So I guess I'll reserve my right to not answer the question.
It's not appropriate, it's out of order.
It's not appropriate. He says it's out of order. So,
Okay? Thank you.
Mhm.
I have the information then that I need for our next steps.
there's what?
I now have the information I need for our next.
Oh, okay, very good.
I have a question, from an information perspective. Is Mr. Pat still a resident of New Jersey, or is he a resident of Florida?
He is a resident of Florida.
Thank you.
Anything else?
That's it.
Okay. Would anyone else from the public wish to speak? Seeing no hands, may I have a motion to close the public portion of the meeting?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We're closed. Which brings us now to consent agenda. I always get excited about consent agenda. May I have a motion to approve consent agenda resolutions 245-24 through 24... Oh, all right. May I have a motion to add resolution number 25024, the resolution endorsing A2024 2024 Bergen County Community Development Block Grant application for Emerson Senior Center ADA Door Improvement Project, as well as resolution number 251-24, resolution endorsing the 2024-25 Bergen County Community Development Block Grant application for ADA Virgin Curb Cuts Project. That sounds funny. We have virgin curbs. So, can we add those to consent?
Yes.
And second? And can we do it all in favor? Do we need a roll call on that? Can I get a roll call, please?
Councilwoman Argenzia?
Yes.
Councilwoman Rice?
Yes.
Councilwoman McGuire?
Yes.
Councilman Gordon?
Yes.
And Councilwoman Sayers?
Yes.
Passes.
Okay, so now that makes the motion to approve consent agenda resolutions 245-24 through 248-24.
Along 250 through 251.
I'm doing 245 through 251. What am I missing?
We assigned that number.
Oh, we reassigned a number. So what are the correct numbers?
It would be resolutions 245-24 through 248-24, and
In addition.
250-24 and 251-24.
Okay.
So moved. Second.
Roll call, please. Thank you for the correction, Michelle.
Councilwoman Argenzia?
Yes.
Councilwoman Rice?
Yes.
Councilwoman McGuire?
Yes.
Councilman Gordon?
Yes.
And Councilwoman Sayers?
Yes.
Thank you, and that numbering is off because our closed executive session is resolution number 249-24. May I have a motion to go into closed executive session to discuss matters exempt from the public pursuant to NJSA 10-4-1 et sec, and adequately noticed by resolution 249-24.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Argenzia?
Yes.
Councilwoman Rice?
Yes.
Councilwoman McGuire?
Yes.
Councilman Gordon?
Yes.
And Councilwoman Sayers?
Yes.
Passes 5-0.
Okay, we are now going into closed session, and you could rejoin us later. Well, there's no...
Time is the check.
Okay, are we on? Okay.
Which one?
Motion to reconvene.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we were in a discussion, and we need to extend our meeting beyond the 11 o'clock. May I have a motion to extend the meeting until 11:45?
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so we can go until 11:45. And we're doing that kind of retroactively because we were in there discussing some important stuff and lost track of time. So, do we have any other business to discuss? John, did you want to say something before Ashley made that motion?
No, should you make a motion first?
Ashley, would you make the motion? I'd like to make a motion.
I'd like to make a motion
to...
Read it.
Is it...
Resolution 252-24, to authorize Borough Attorney John McCann to draft a complaint for a lawsuit against the 419 redeveloper for breach of contract in an initial amount not to exceed $3,500.
Can we get a second on that?
I'll second it.
And a roll call.
Councilwoman Argenzia.
Yes.
Oh.
Councilwoman, Rice is absent. Councilwoman McGuire.
Yes.
Councilman Gordon is absent, and Councilwoman Sayers.
Yes.
Passes 3-0.
So I have another technical issue. Councilman Timmerman joined us. I don't know if he is still on the phone or not. Mike, are you still on the phone? You're on speaker. I think I lost him. But you did reflect the minutes that he was on, so I would say that he probably fell off at about 11:30, is my estimation. Okay. All right. So did we do a roll call on that?
Yes.
All right, so that passed. Very good. Okay. And then, do we have any other business,
Yes.
Nicole?
I actually do, Mayor.
Very
I
good.
would like to make a motion, put in the resolution 253-24, to award the base bid number 11 service level 5, period 11 for the term January 1, 2025 through December 31st, 2029 for the solid waste service recycling service and vegetative waste service rebid to interstate waste services. I'll second that.
And a roll call, please.
Councilwoman Argenzia.
Yes.
Councilwoman McGuire.
Yes.
And Councilwoman Sayers.
Yes.
All right, is there any other business, John?
Yeah, I just want to comment on the resolution.
Oh, we would love for you to do that.
So, for the last several communications, several months, the redeveloper's been here. He's got a request into the borough right now that's pending. I've had communications with him for the last year, repeatedly asking him for information that he's required to provide us under the contract. And they have repeatedly ignored these requests, provided no specific answers as to why they won't comply with these basic contractual requests. A week ago or so, I sent them an email explaining one final time that they're in breach of contract by not providing us these requests, and I gave them a week to get back to us. Today's a week, essentially. Actually, it didn't contain a timeline, but I made it very clear that if they didn't get back to me with specific information, that we would take every step to protect the taxpayers' rights. No one likes to spend money on litigation, particularly potentially if this person is in financial trouble. They have repeatedly made representations that there's work going on at 419. The work has repeatedly stopped and started and stopped and started. I think it's stopped again right now, Rob, if that's correct.
Correct.
And everyone can go back and look at the tape where their attorneys emphatically represented to this community that they were going to finish this project. I've become very concerned about the lack of communication and lack of response, particularly concerned about the fact that their own attorneys on the eve of trial filed a motion to be withdrawn as counsel because they were not paid. And for an attorney to do that on the eve of trial is shocking. The motion was withdrawn by the attorneys, and the trial has now since been rescheduled for December 2nd. Notwithstanding that lawsuit for breach of contract, they've incurred other breaches that we have bent over backwards trying to encourage them to complete this project, notwithstanding any efforts with regard to 7 off-site units. One's got really nothing to do with the other. So tomorrow, I will send them an email requesting that they comply, give them 48 hours to comply. And if they do not comply within 48 hours with the required information that they're contractually obligated to give us, in additional other stuff as well, I will draft the complaint and have a lawsuit filed forthwith. Don't want to do it, but they've left us no choice. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McCann. Does anybody have any other comments or questions tonight? Okay, with no further business to discuss, may I have a motion to adjourn at 11:43?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We are adjourned.